I am Anya Lin, an architect specializing in heritage restoration in Jiangcheng. For the past 7 years, my life has revolved around two things: ancient architectural blueprints and my precious little son, Leo Lin. When I realized I was just a tragic side character in a cheap romance novel titled Love's Dominator, Leo was already 6 years old. This awakening wasn't a sudden lightning strike, it was more like a simmering fever. Fragments of memories that weren't mine seeped into my dreams. Hollow dialogues echoed in my mind during quiet moments. In that story, I, Anya Lin, was the first wife of the male lead, Ethan Moe, an ordinary woman who married into a prestigious family only to serve as a backdrop for his unforgettable, destined love with the true female lead, Serena Sue. My fate was to be forced into divorce, lose my child, and ultimately die in solitude and illness. But I bent fate. The moment I recognized the first signs of this predetermined destiny, I fiercely demanded a divorce before he could even open his mouth. I used all my savings and the meager divorce settlement to leave Shengjing. I came to Jiangcheng, a peaceful riverside city, to start anew. I kept Leo. That was my only victory, and it was everything. I struggled tirelessly to raise him. On nights he had a high fever, I stayed awake, constantly checking his temperature, my heart burning with anxiety. In his early school days, he was teased by friends for not having a father. I taught him to hold his head high, that the integrity of a family isn't measured by the number of members, but by the love within it. I worked relentlessly, starting as a small-time designer, striving ceaselessly to become a renowned expert in restoration. I thought the storms were behind us, that from then on, my sons and my life would only be filled with sunshine and peace. But Ethan Moe was too large a shadow to escape. One day, I picked Leo up from school. He wasn't chirping happily as usual. He was uncharacteristically quiet, his delicate brows subtly furrowed. When we got home, he didn't run off to play with his models as he normally would. Instead, he opened his tablet, his fingers swiftly gliding across the screen. A moment later, he turned the screen towards me. It displayed an article about Ethan Moe, chairman of the Moe Group, speaking at an international economic forum in Shengjing. His face, cold and powerful, dominated the camera lens. Leo looked up. His intelligent, dark eyes, so sharp they sometimes frightened me, stared straight into mine. "Mom, why does that man look like me?" My heart skipped a beat. I hugged him, closing the tablet, trying to keep my voice calm. "It's just a coincidence, son. There are billions of people in the world. It's unavoidable that some might resemble each other." Leo pursed his lips, his expression clearly unconvinced. "But his surname is Moe, and the Moe Group is investing in a new urban development project in the suburbs of Jiangcheng." I looked it up. I was stunned. A 7-year-old child, already capable of linking information, of conducting searches. The IQs of children in novels truly couldn't be underestimated. "Leo," I sat down, looking deep into his eyes, "he has nothing to do with us. Your mother and I have a very good life here, don't we?" He was silent for a long moment, then softly murmured a yes. But I knew the seeds of curiosity and doubt had been sown in his heart. And in this predestined world, those seeds would sprout sooner or later, no matter how hard I tried to bury them. In the following weeks, I poured all my energy into a project to restore an ancient district in the city center. This was a crucial project, overseen by the leading architectural firm I had just joined, headed by a talented and renowned architect, Brandon Huo. He was a man of few words, strict but incredibly fair. His gaze, when looking at old blueprints and decaying wooden structures, always shone with passion and respect. Working under him was an honor, and I didn't allow myself to be distracted. I thought that busyness would wash away my worries, but I was wrong. One Friday afternoon, I was in a meeting with the construction team when I received a call from Leo's teacher. Her voice was frantic, saying Leo had disappeared after lunch break. The boy left a note on his desk, which read, "I'm going to find the other half of my roots." The ground beneath me seemed to collapse. I bolted out of the construction site, forgetting to ask my superior for leave, forgetting the hard hat still on my head. I called Leo, but his phone was off. Fear, like a wild beast, tore at my chest. Shengjing, he must have gone to Shengjing. Just as I was panicking, utterly lost, a familiar black car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing Brandon Huo, who had just returned from a meeting with an investor. "Anya Lin," his voice was steady, but his eyes were filled with scrutiny. "What's wrong? You look like you're about to faint." I trembled, unable to speak, only handing him the teacher's message. He glanced over it, his sword-like brows subtly furrowing. He didn't ask many questions, simply said, "Get in the car, to the airport." "But, my work," I stammered. "I'm granting you leave," he stated decisively. "Finding your son is more important." In that moment, amidst my extreme panic, his calmness was like a lifesaver. I didn't think twice, opened the car door and got in. The car sped away, leaving Jiangcheng hazy in the twilight. I knew I was hurtling towards the storm I had tried to escape for the past 7 years. The flight to Shengjing felt like an eternity. I sat motionless, my hands clenched until my knuckles turned white. Brandon Hugh sat beside me, silent, quietly offering me a bottle of water. His silence comforted me more than any hollow words could. "Thank you, Mr. Hugh," I whispered, my voice hoarse. "I've caused you trouble." He simply shook his head slightly, his gaze fixed forward. "A manager's duty is to ensure their employees can work in their best state." "You are unstable. I cannot ignore it." His answer was utterly professional, devoid of personal emotion, yet that very fact eased my guilt. No sooner had we landed at Shengjing Airport than my phone rang with an unknown number. I shakily answered. "Mommy," Leo's voice, clear and somewhat excited, rang out. "I found Dad. He's amazing." "What?" Anger and fear erupted simultaneously. "Where are you?" The other end was silent for a moment, then a low, cold, and hatefully familiar male voice replaced my son's. "Anya Lin, you're back in Shengjing? Come to the Mo family mansion. We need to talk." It was Ethan Mo. He hung up before I could even curse. That arrogant, commanding tone. 7 years, and it hadn't changed one bit. Brandon Hugh looked at my expression, perhaps guessing part of it. "Do you want me to come with you?" I shook my head. "This is my personal matter. You've already helped me enough by getting me here. I can't trouble you any further." He looked at me for a moment, then nodded. "All right, this is the address of the hotel the company booked. When you're done, go there to rest. Call if you need anything." He handed me a business card, bearing only his name and phone number. I thanked him and hailed a taxi to the Mo mansion. The luxurious villa stood in Shengjing's most exclusive district, once my home, once my hell. The old butler was still there. He looked slightly surprised to see me but respectfully led me inside. Ethan Mo sat on the sofa, legs crossed, a regal bearing about him. Leo sat beside him, happily playing with a limited edition Lego set, the price of which I knew could sustain my son and me for half a year. The boy saw me, his eyes lit up, but he didn't run to hug me as he usually would. He only softly called, "Mom." My heart ached. "Sit," Ethan Mo gestured with his chin towards the chair opposite. 7 years and you haven't changed much." I didn't sit. Anger had completely overwhelmed any fear. I walked directly to Leo, pulling his hand to stand him up. "Let's go home with Mom." "I don't want to." Leo pulled his hand away, resisting unexpectedly. "Dad said I can stay here. There's a private room, lots of toys, and Grandma too." Just then, an elegantly dressed woman, meticulously made up, descended the stairs. It was Madame Li, Ethan Mo's mother. She looked at me with her familiar disdain. "Oh, who is this, my former daughter-in-law? Do you still have the nerve to show your face here?" I ignored her, staring fixedly at Leo, trying to keep my voice from trembling. "Leah, what did I tell you? You shouldn't just go off with strangers." "But he's my dad," the boy argued, his eyes beginning to well up. "Dad's not a stranger." "Anya Lin," Ethan Mo stood up, stepping between me and my son. He was a head taller than me, his shadow enveloping me. "Don't scare the boy. He's my son. He has the right to stay here. I believe the environment at the Mo family mansion is better for his development. We should remarry so Leo can have a complete family." I burst out laughing, a bitter, furious sound. "Remarry Ethan Mo? Have you lost your mind? Have you forgotten how you treated me? Have you forgotten what your mother and your childhood sweetheart did to me?" Ethan Mo's expression turned ugly. "That's ancient history. Why bring it up? Besides, you're perfectly fine. Serena Sue was young then, she didn't know any better." "Perfectly fine?" I almost screamed. "She pushed me down the stairs when I was pregnant with Leo. You forced me to sign a settlement, saying I shouldn't damage her reputation." "You call that perfectly fine?" Painful memories flooded back like a torrent. I felt my chest about to explode. Leo, perhaps frightened by my fury, burst into sobs. He ran, not towards me, but to hug Ethan Mo's leg. "Daddy, I'm scared. Mommy's so scary." In that moment, all sounds around me vanished. The blood in my veins seemed to freeze. The child I had poured my heart and soul into raising and protecting now found me frightening and sought refuge with the very man who had caused me all my suffering. Ethan Mo bent down to embrace Leo, his eyes on me filled with triumph and mockery, a familiar look. just like that year when I begged him to believe me, and he had looked at me the same way. "You see, Anya," he said, his voice light, yet every word was a dagger piercing my heart. "Even your son knows who's better for him. You'll come back to me." My heart shattered. I slowly squatted down, bringing my eyes level with Leo, who was burying his face in his father's pant leg. I tried to smile, a smile uglier than any cry. "Leo," I asked softly, "tell Mom you've chosen to stay with Dad, haven't you?" The boy sobbed, not daring to look me in the eye, but he nodded, a decisive nod. "All right." I took a deep breath, feeling as if the air itself had turned into shards of glass cutting my lungs. "Then you stay with your father." I stood up, turned, and walked away without a single glance back. "From today," my voice rang out, cold and unfamiliar, "I, Anya Lin, will act as if I never had this son." I walked out of the cold iron gates of the Mo family mansion. Outside, a sudden rain poured down relentlessly. Just like the day I left this place 7 years ago. History repeated itself, but this time the pain was 1,000 times greater. Because this time, what I lost was not just a marriage, but my entire world. I wandered aimlessly under Shengjing's torrential rain, the rainwater mingling with my bitter tears. My high heels stepped into puddles, splashing mud onto my office dress, but I no longer had the presence of mind to care. 6 years, 7 years, what had I spent my youth doing? Raising an ungrateful, wide-eyed wolf? I remembered those early days, Leo refusing formula, biting my breast until it bled. I gritted my teeth, enduring the pain, just hoping he'd get a little more immunity. In the middle of the night, he'd cry endlessly. I couldn't afford a nanny, so I had to carry him around the room myself until my arms were numb and my back ached as if it would break. My hair fell out in large clumps from stress and lack of sleep. I feared I wouldn't be able to teach him, feared he'd go astray without a father's love, so I read countless books, joined every parenting group, treating child-rearing as a serious science. And yet, all I received in return was a decisive nod, his unhesitating choice of a father he had only just met. A chill penetrated my very bones. Instinctively, I sought shelter under an awning, huddling on the steps, hugging my knees. I trembled, not from the cold, but from the agony tearing at my heart. I unconsciously opened my wallet, taking out the only photo of Leo I always carried, a picture from his first birthday, grinning widely, revealing a few milk teeth. I stared at that face, so long that the image began to blur. A black umbrella suddenly appeared above my head, shielding me from the cold raindrops. I looked up, it was Brandon Huo. He stood there, tall and silent, one hand holding the umbrella, the other tucked into his pocket. His gaze was complex, filled with worry and a hint of unbearable sorrow. "Why are you here?" I asked, my voice hoarse. "I was worried about you," he replied, his voice deep and warm. "This place isn't safe. Get up, I'll take you back to the hotel." I couldn't move, all my strength seemed to have drained away. I just shook my head. "I don't have a home to go back to anymore." Brandon Hugh sighed softly. He said nothing more, only bent down and easily lifted me into his arms. I was too startled to resist, the warmth from his body radiating through my shirt, a strangely steady and safe warmth. He carried me to the car, gently placed me in the passenger seat, buckled me in, and then walked around to the driver's side. Car moved in silence. I leaned my head against the window, watching the raindrops slide down. My mind was blank. Back at the hotel, Brandon Hugh helped me to my room. I realized I had a high fever. The chill earlier wasn't just psychological. He called room service, requesting fever medicine and hot porridge. He did everything naturally and expertly, without a single unnecessary word. "Take your medicine and eat something," he said, placing the glass of water and the pill in front of me. "Then get some rest, we'll deal with everything tomorrow." I looked up at him. This man, my boss, who had no obligation whatsoever to care for me, was here, looking after me in my most pathetic state. "Why are you doing this?" He was silent for a moment, his gaze fixed on the window, where the city lights glittered beautifully at night. "Because I see my mother in you," he said. I was surprised. "My mother was also a strong woman," he continued, his voice distant. "She raised me alone after my father passed away. I saw her cry alone at night, saw her work herself to exhaustion. I understand the hardship of a single mother. You're very much like her, Anya Lin, resilient but also deeply vulnerable." He turned back to look at me, his eyes profound. "You don't deserve to endure all this alone." His words were like a warm current, slowly melting the icy block in my heart. For the first time in years, I felt I wasn't a lone warrior. I burst into tears, the overflowing sobs I had suppressed all afternoon. I cried for 7 years of resentment, for meaningless sacrifices, for the pain of betrayal. Brandon Hugh just sat there quietly, handing me a box of tissues to let me pour out my heart. He didn't offer comfort, didn't give advice. He was simply there, giving me space to be weak. When I had calmed down, my phone vibrated again. It was Ethan Moe. A flurry of messages appeared on the lock screen. Leo is having so much fun with me. He says he prefers it here. Come here immediately. I'm still willing to discuss our remarriage. Anya Lin, you don't even want your own son. Are you fit to be a mother? I'll give you 1 hour. If you don't come, don't dream of seeing your son again. I scanned those threatening messages. And strangely, I no longer felt pain, only disgust and weariness. I turned off my phone, tossing it aside. He's threatening you? Brandon Hugh asked, his brows tightly furrowed. I nodded, a bitter smile on my face. The same old tricks. He always thinks everything is under his control. So, what are you going to do? I looked at him, and an idea suddenly sparked in my mind. I had run enough. I had conceded enough. If I didn't break free from this cage myself, it would haunt me for the rest of my life. Mr. Hugh, I said, my voice much calmer. Ask you for a favor? Go ahead. Do you know any good lawyers in Shangjing? I want to fight for custody of my son, and I won't leave empty-handed again. Brandon Hugh looked at me for a long moment, then the corner of his lips subtly curved upwards, forming a nearly imperceptible smile. Yes, I'll arrange it, but first you need to rest. A warrior cannot go into battle with an exhausted body. You're right, I nodded, drank all the water, and swallowed the fever medicine. For the first time, instead of fleeing, I chose to confront, because I knew this time I wasn't alone anymore. The winds in Shangjing might be strong, but someone had stepped forward to shield me. The fever passed, leaving me with a strange clarity. The delirium had purged the last vestiges of weakness, leaving only cold determination. The next morning, Brandon Hugh took me to meet his lawyer, a man named Julian Liu, renowned in Shangjing's legal circles for his sharpness and uncompromising nature. Julian Liu's office was on the top floor of a glass tower, overlooking the entire city. He seemed younger than me, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, exuding an intellectual and dangerous aura. After hearing my entire story, from my hellish marriage to Ethan Moe's custody drama, Julian Liu lightly tapped his finger on the ebony table. Ms. Lin, he said calmly, this case isn't easy. Ethan Moe has money, power, and most importantly, the boy went with him willingly. The court will consider the child's wishes, especially since he's 7 years old. So, I don't have a chance. My heart began to tighten again. There's always a chance. Julian Liu sipped his tea. But we cannot fight him with emotions. We need evidence. Evidence that he's unfit to be a father. Evidence of psychological instability, violent behavior, or an unhealthy living environment. And we need to show the court that you are not just a loving mother, but also financially capable and have a stable life to provide the best future for the boy. His words were like a surgeon's scalpel, clearly delineating what I needed to do. Not to cry, not to beg, but to fight intelligently. Leaving the lawyer's office, Brandon Hugh took me to another location, an old quarter awaiting redevelopment, right in the heart of Shangjing. This is the Shangjing Memories project that our company just won the bid for, he said, handing me a thick folder. I want you to be the primary lead for the restoration and preservation of the core structures. The Shangjing branch office will be under your temporary management. I was stunned. Me, but this is too big a project. I trust your abilities, he cut me off, his gaze firm. You have the expertise, the sensitivity for heritage. Moreover, this will give you a legitimate reason to stay in Shangjing, a position and a salary sufficient to prove your capabilities in court. Consider this your battlefield, Anya Lin. Use your talent to rebuild your life, just as you restore these buildings. His words were not just a job appointment, they were recognition and empowerment. He didn't see me as a pathetic woman needing protection. He saw me as a partner, a warrior, and I accepted the weapon he offered. In the days that followed, I threw myself into work like a moth to a flame. I spent hours at the construction site, meticulously measuring every detail, conversing with veteran artisans, and researching the history of each house. The work consumed me, helping me temporarily forget the pain of losing my son. It gave me a purpose, a reason to stand firm. Brandon Hugh was also frequently present. He didn't interfere with my specialized work, but was always there, observing and supporting. Sometimes he would bring me a hot coffee while I was engrossed in my blueprints. Other times, he would just stand quietly beside me as I debated with the construction team. His presence lent weight to my every word. Meanwhile, Leo's life at the Moe Mansion was not the paradise he had imagined. I learned this through fragmented bits of information Julian Liu managed to gather. Ethan Moe was incredibly busy. He rarely had time for his son. When he was home, he only wanted his son to learn elite things like golf, horse riding, and finance. He would dismiss Leo when he excitedly talked about architectural models or historical stories I used to tell him. "Those are useless things," he would say. Madame Li constantly made Leo adhere to hundreds of rules, from how to hold a fork to his bedtime. She ceaselessly badmouthed me in front of him, saying I was a terrible mother who had abandoned him. As for Serena Sue, she always acted sweet, bought Leo many expensive gifts, but cleverly prevented him from calling me whenever he tried. One evening, as Brandon Huo and I were reviewing the project's progress in the office, he suddenly asked, "Do you miss your son?" My hand, holding the pen, froze. "Of course I miss him. I miss him terribly. Every night I dream of him." As if reading my thoughts, he continued, "Then don't just miss him. Act." Ethan Moe can prevent you from seeing him, but he can't stop you from showing your love. He placed a small box on the table. Inside was an incredibly intricate wooden architectural model, a replica of one of the ancient houses I was restoring. "This weekend is the boy's birthday. Send it to your son, along with a letter. Don't complain, don't blame, just tell him you still love him and are waiting for him." It was a blade, a gentle blade. It didn't attack Ethan Moe, but subtly slipped into Leo's heart, reminding him of his true world, a world with his mother's love. I followed his advice. A few days later, Julian Liu called me. The other side had made a move. Ethan Moe had received our lawsuit. He's furious. What did he do? He used his connections to pressure the material suppliers for the Shengjing Memories project. A few companies have already started canceling contracts. Julian Liu paused. "Your Mr. Hugh is under immense pressure." I hung up, my heart heavy. Ethan Moe had begun his counterattack. He wanted to crush me by ruining my career, by ruining the company of the man who had helped me. I immediately went to find Brandon Hugh. He stood before the large glass window in his office, his back straight but looking tired. "I'm sorry," I said. "You're implicated because of me?" He turned to look at me, his gaze still calm. "I already told you, this is my battlefield too." He's made a big mistake. "What mistake, Anya Lin?" He turned a personal feud into a commercial war. Brandon Hugh smiled faintly, a cold smile. "And in the business world, money doesn't always guarantee victory." He walked to his desk, took out another stack of documents, and pushed them towards me. "He attacked our supply chain, so let's attack his foundation. These are the files of major real estate projects the Moe Group has completed in the past 5 years. With your expertise, examine them carefully, find even the smallest crack." I looked at the towering stack of files, then at his eyes, full of trust. I understood. He wanted me to use my sharpest weapons, my professional knowledge and integrity to fight back. The real battle was just beginning. I spent 3 days and 3 nights sleepless, burying myself in the Moe Group's project files. Brandon Hugh had mobilized a team of experts to assist me, from structural engineers to material specialists. We were like a medical team examining every inch and fiber of the Moe Group giant, searching for the disease, and we found it. It was a luxury apartment project called Heavenly Peace Residences, completed 2 years ago. On the surface, it was glamorous and opulent. But a deep analysis of the structural blueprints and material reports revealed a terrifying truth. To cut costs and accelerate progress, the Moe Group had used a type of steel with a lower load-bearing capacity than the allowed standard in the entire main load-bearing beam system. It was a ticking time bomb. A mild earthquake or simply deterioration over time could cause the entire building to collapse. Thousands of lives were at stake. When I presented these findings to Brandon Hugh and Julian Liu, both were silent for a moment. Julian Liu's expression was no longer sharp but astonished. "This is no longer a civil case," he said, his voice grave. "This is a crime, Anya Lin. You hold in your hand something that can completely bury Ethan Moe. What should I do?" My hands trembled as I held the stack of evidence. "Wait," Brandon Hugh interjected, his eyes deep. "What is our goal? Is it to put Ethan Moe in prison, or is it to get your son back and start a new life?" His question jolted me. Hatred still simmered within me, but reason dictated that a destructive war would lead to countless consequences. "I just want peace. I want my son," I said with certainty, "and I want him to disappear from our lives forever." "Good," Brandon Hugh nodded. "Then use this as your trump card. Don't reveal it just yet." Just then, I received an email from an unknown address. Subject: "Mommy, help me." My heart almost stopped. I shakily opened the email. It was from Leo. The boy wrote, "Dad broke the model you sent. Grandma says Mom doesn't need me anymore. I don't believe her. I miss you. It's scary here. Dad gets angry for no reason. I want to come home, Mommy." At the end of the letter was an address, not the Mo family mansion, but an international school in the suburbs. He was crying for help. I showed the phone to Brandon Huo. Julian Liu immediately acted. "This is our chance. We can use the reason of emotional abuse of the child to request an emergency protection order." Everything happened as fast as a whirlwind. With the email evidence, plus the testimony of a few former household staff at the Mo mansion, skillfully found by Julian Liu regarding Ethan Mo's volatile temper, we secured a court order. The next day, I, along with the lawyer and 2 enforcement officers, went to that international school. When Leo saw me, he burst into tears, rushing to hug me tightly. His small body trembled uncontrollably. "Mommy, I knew you'd come." Seeing the faint bruises on his arm, seeing his frightened face, my heart was cut to shreds. I hugged him tightly, feeling my flesh and blood sun again. The final confrontation took place in Ethan Mo's office. He looked haggard and frantic, no longer bearing his usual arrogant demeanor. "Anya Lin, how dare you?" he roared when he saw me walk in, followed by Brandon Huo and Julian Liu. I said nothing, simply placed a folder on his desk, a copy of the evidence regarding the Heavenly Peace Residences project. Ethan Mo flipped through it, his face transforming from anger to ashen pallor, and finally, despair. He slumped into his chair, looking at me as if he couldn't believe it. "W, what do you want?" "I want 3 things, I said, my voice calm and cold. "First, full custody of Leo Lin, with no future disputes. Second, a fair compensation for my past 7 years and a share in the Mo Group, commensurate with what I deserved as the wife who helped him build his career in the early days. Third, and most importantly, you and your entire family will never again appear in or interfere with my sons and my lives." "Are you trying to blackmail me?" Brandon Hugh spoke for the first time, his voice icy. "This is an exchange. She's trading her silence for her freedom and the safety of thousands of others. You should feel lucky, Ethan Mo." Ethan Mo completely collapsed. He knew he had lost, utterly and completely. As we left Shengjing, the sky was clear, without a single cloud. Leo held my hand tightly at the airport, not letting go for a moment. He told me everything about his loneliness, about his fears. I no longer blamed him. He was just a child yearning for a father's love, and he had paid too high a price for his innocence. "Mommy, I'm sorry," he whispered. I stroked his head. "It's okay. We'll start anew together." Brandon Hugh stood beside us, smiling as he watched. He said nothing, but his presence was the firmest promise. As the plane took off, I looked down at Shengjing, shrinking beneath us. I once thought this place was a nightmare, a cage, but now I realized it was also the place that helped me break free from my cocoon. It had forged me from a weak caterpillar into a butterfly capable of flying freely. I turned to look at Brandon Huo, the man who had given me wings. He was looking at me too. He gently took my hand, our fingers intertwining. "Let's go home," he said. "Yes," I smiled, a truly peaceful smile after 7 years of storms. "Let's go home." Our new life in Jiangcheng awaited. A life not predetermined in any novel. A life I created with my own hands.